Help support Friendo Club by going to patreon.com/Stephen Larson or clicking join at youtube.com/Stephen Larson. Access to bonus episodes, question threads for the Going In Raw podcast, and entry to our monthly wrestling predictions challenges. Join the Friendo Club today. Hey, Friendo, Steve here.
Hey, Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw. On today's episode, we've got AEW Dynamite reviewed with more clues both on TV and maybe in the world of social media in terms of who the devil is.
The devil.
I'm not talking about actual like Lucifer, like Mephisto. No. I'm talking about the AEW devil.
Whoever's
dude
behind
rolling
the devil
around
mask
with a mask on, and then he's got his henchmen out there. So we've got some clues. We're going to talk about that. But first, Larson, it wouldn't be a Going In Raw these days, would it? Unless we had Punk Daily! Here we go. We're going to drop some CM Punk news right now. Just a second. We're going to drop some CM Punk news for use. We've got... There we go. Okay.
Apparently we got nothing better to do. To deliver CM Punk news.
We've got nothing better to do. Bring CM Punk
All right, anyway,
news
so Kevin
to
Owens.
you.
We love Kevin Owens here.
Best.
The
He's
best.
The
It
awesome
seems like the best. Absolute best. Was recently interviewed by James H. Williams and was asked about the returns of two noble names in WWE at Survivor Series. Of course, Randall Keith Orton.
Yes.
Made his return first. And then, of course, CM Punk.
CM Punk.
So on the topic of CM Punk, this is what Kevin Owens said. Long pause.
Uh-huh.
I just want to have fun at work, so if he's got that mindset, great. Then he's asked about the return of Randy Orton, and then talks for a minute about how great Randy Orton is. Perhaps the most important thing he says is he's one of those guys that you have in the locker room that doesn't have to say he's a leader, but you just know he is. I'm paraphrasing, of course. He is effusive of his praise of Randy, how great it is to have him back in the locker room.
Yeah. He said, of course, he's great in the ring. He's a legend, but he's a guy you love to have around. Contrast that with earlier. Just it looked like when he was asked about CM Punk's return, it was as if he was just told that there's some dog feces in his front yard and he has to go pick it up. I just want to have fun at work is what he says. Not shocking, given that he's obviously very close with the Young Bucks. But also,
he's told the story of his time in Ring of Honor where Punk was there. And, the story he tells is he does it so in a diplomatic fashion, but it's about how CM Punk gives Kevin Owens crap for wearing a T-shirt to the ring to wrestle in.
Right. Yeah. He pitches a little hissy fit about a T-shirt. And like you said, in that shoot interview, he's very diplomatic. I suggest everybody go out and take a look at it. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see how that all works out. Owens is on SmackDown now.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like CM Punk is going to be on Raw at least for now until he gets to, if there is an eventual feud with Reigns, but Rollins is on Raw, and that seems to be probably where they're going to go now. So, maybe he won't have to deal with that with, whatever that might be. So yeah, I don't know. This is going to be interesting to get everybody's, to see where everybody stands.
Yeah.
On CM Punk's return.
Yeah.
On good old Phil. Exactly.
I know. I mean,
everybody loves Randy Orton though. Have you noticed that? Yeah. Especially over the last couple of years, whenever any wrestler is asked about Randy Orton, oh dude, best in the ring, best guy backstage. Everybody loves Randy Orton.
I know. Randy Orton might be, to a certain degree, this generation's Kevin Nash. Apparently, everybody loves Kevin Nash. Well, except maybe Shane Douglas. Seemingly, everybody loves Kevin Nash.
Yeah. And Stone, the craziest thing for we've talked about this, all the talk about how back the Attitude Era, it was all sharks and politics and stuff. And yet Stone Cold Steve Austin seems to be on great terms with everybody.
Yeah. That's another name I was going to bring up. Yeah. With Stone Cold and Kevin Nash, two guys in the wrestling business, it seemed like just about everybody likes.
Yeah. Well, you listen to any Kevin Nash podcast, and he does. I mean, he seems like, I don't know. He just seems like he's got a good head on his shoulders. He really does.
Yeah.
So, anyways, let's talk about now. We're done with Punk Daily. Do we get to do like an outro Punk Daily?
No, we don't ever do that. Because at the end of TV Party, all they do is scream TV shows. That's not fitting for CM Punk. That's incredible.
Money in the Bank 2011.
I suppose you can do that. All Out. I don't know. I don't want to remember that his last All Out.
Dog collar match.
I suppose he could.
Oh, that's good. Anyways, yeah, let's talk about AEW Dynamite last night. And
more to the point, let's talk about some of the social media activity that happened yesterday, kind of before, after, during episode. All right.
So we have this is sort of like, a big question. There's some social media activity that seemed to be a bit on the, negative side, the critical side, I should say, of certain things happening in AEW by AEW wrestlers. And we have a question about that. Are they using social media discontent to advance storylines, or is this actual discontent?
Is there actual beef? So let's go back to early yesterday morning. MJF tweeted, quote, "I didn't sleep a wink, in a shit ton of pain and can't get comfortable, but it's Wednesday. We got a show to put on. I hear it all. I read it all. I see it all. I'm wide awake in more ways than one. Let's restore the feeling. Hashtag AEW Dynamite." So social media. So not surprisingly, a bunch of people pipe in with their takes on this, which seems to be, from MJF's perspective, a fairly, if you will, inspirational thing here. It's like, I may be hurt, I might be asleep, but let's go put on a show and let's restore the feeling that is AEW,
Yeah,
he's trying to rally. He's trying to rally people.
Yeah, his sort of like, in character persona now is like, hey, I've been inspired by Adam Cole to be a positive person. I'm your scumbag, and so I'm going to write these corny tweets, saying, hey, I'm in pain, but raw, let's go Dynamite.
Exactly. So there's a Twitter user, @UnsafeChairShot,
oh, wow,
responded saying, quote, to MJF, you have almost single-handedly destroyed the feeling, lol.
Wow.
Wrestlers post stuff. I'm sure they
Harsh.
get this type of stuff all day.
Harsh.
But here's where it gets interesting. That quote retweet from @UnsafeChairShot got liked by Jack Perry, Sammy Guevara, and Britt Baker. And then Britt doubled down on the criticism of, depending how you interpret this, MJF and or AEW in general, by tweeting, quote, tonight, MJF live promo time, 7 minutes. Christian Cage live promo time, 10 minutes. All of 2023 AEW Dynamite Britt Baker live promo time, 0 minutes.
If I had a dime for every minute of promo time I had, I'd have no dimes.
No dimes. So, is this legitimate discontent in the AEW locker room, even after the departure of CM Punk? Or is this, a not so subtle trail of clues for us to follow to give us a hint of who could be the group of masked assailants in this MJF Devil storyline, seeing as Jack Perry's already a suspect to be one of them.
Dude, it was
Britt
totally
Baker
Jack
at one point,
Perry's laugh when the Devil laughed last week.
And Britt at one point on social media was speculated to be the Devil.
Yeah.
If Adam Cole is ultimately the Devil in this story, if that's Jack Perry's laugh the other day when the Devil was on the screen, obviously Jack Perry's involved based on the last few weeks, especially last night. Wardlow's involved.
Oh, I really wish that he would have tweeted.
He had Hat Head coming out for his match.
I really wish he would have tweeted out, man, it's hot under these masks.
I know. That's basically what it was. So you got Wardlow for sure. You probably got Jack Perry. You got Adam Cole. Now, I know Sammy Guevara is supposed to be a member of Don Callis' family, but he's been out with concussion. Kyle Fletcher took his spot. It would make sense why he would have beef with MJF.
Let me ask you something.
What?
Is it possible at all that some of these are storyline and Sammy Guevara's is legit? That'd be kind of funny if he was like, if he didn't know that this was supposed to be storyline.
Yeah. I mean, he had tied. They just had their kid. Maybe their
kid.
He's like scrolling through. Oh, other people have liked this. I'll like this too.
Well, okay. So that also sort of begs the question. I don't have it in front of me, like his actual Twitter feed, Sammy Guevara.
Yeah.
timeline-wise, so if the idea is the people who are under the masks are the people who are going to be revealed, if he's out on, paternity leave or whatever, to have kid, I know he's not the one, breastfeeding the child.
Yeah.
But is it possible that he is there instead of being with baby, or does he have a body double if it is Sammy Guevara?
It could be.
I'm just throwing these questions out because
those are fair questions to ask if Sammy's involved in this. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Wardlow thing is hilarious because all that would take is I rewound because Wardlow shows up right after the segment where the Devil's henchmen come out and attack MJF. And he's got complete and total. It's as if it's clear as day that he just took that mask off and his hair's all doing the funny thing where it's floppy.
And it's been that way for weeks. If you watch 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, it's like, did he just get from a nap?
Yeah, we've mentioned that on the stream before. Yeah. And which is a funny thing because, and on top of that, the person I feel like Wardlow who had the bat or the pipe or whatever it was, holding it to Max in the front, and the guy that he was dragged out by Samoa Joe. He also had, so Wardlow in his match was wearing knee pads. The person in the outfit it looked like they had knee pads around their shins, their calves, right?
Yeah.
So that lines up. So Wardlow is clearly one of them, and he's made references to Devils. He's made it all but obvious. Wardlow is clearly one of these guys.
Yeah.
Jack Perry's laugh definitely makes him one. If Britt Baker's involved, then we know for a fact that the Devil is Adam Cole. That just makes so much sense.
It really does.
Now, she might not be one of the actual attackers. I didn't really get, I didn't notice if the body type would have fit Britt Baker. I kind of didn't, I don't think that was
it
the
all
case
happened
of
so
anybody.
Fast, especially because lights were strobing and stuff. And it was hard to tell. I mean, you could definitely make out the one dude was Wardlow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'd like to think that the Devil is not Jack Perry. Jack Perry's just one of the dudes. If Jack Perry is leading Wardlow in a faction, I don't like that very much. But if Adam Cole is leading Wardlow and Jack Perry, hey, I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Unless, yeah.
Unless what?
Oh, I was gonna say unless Britt's the Devil under the mask. But then Cole would have to be out there. So no, it makes more sense for Cole to be the Devil.
Yeah, it makes all the sense for Adam Cole to be the Devil. I would guess the social media activity, at least for the most part in this case, I would lean towards this as storyline stuff.
Same. Yeah, same. But it's funny because, and I don't know. Look, obviously the women's division, unfortunately, at this point in AEW is still very much underserved.
Oh, yes.
But there's other people as well, Saraya doesn't get any screen time, hardly any screen time these days, which is kind of bizarre because she's, a big name. And it sort of speaks to the criticism that we've had of AEW. They sort of don't maximize their roster to its fullest potential. That being said, this Devil storyline is kind of a bright spot, I would say. I love the old, keeping people guessing and looking for clues and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is it possible though, Larson, not to be a negative Nelly, but next week there's a tag match? Are these henchmen going to be running ropes and doing, is one of the larger henchmen going to do a senton?
Or several power bombs for that matter.
or a power bomb symphony, if you will.
I know that's the kind of tricky situation that when you have a group of masked attackers led by someone who themselves is wearing a mask, if the idea is to continue to keep their identities secret, then you have to put them in the match disguised and then find ways in terms of how they work to keep from showing who they are.
Yeah.
If you want to persist with the mystery. So if Wardlow's going to be in there and it's going to be wrestling, and he's out there doing a bunch of power bombs, when he really winds back for that clothesline he does, it's okay, well that's just Wardlow. And they've already made it abundantly clear it's Wardlow, but if they're going to do a situation where he does all the moves and he doesn't take his mask off, well, we all know it's Wardlow, for heaven's sakes. Just take the mask off.
I feel like if it's the others, let's say, so somebody here in chat says it's Wardlow, Spears, and FTR. It's Pinnacle, basically, right?
Yeah.
I feel like Sean Spears Sean Spears has enough of a generic wrestler male build and is probably savvy enough to not, to be able to not use whatever his moves are, the C4 and stuff like that. Like, I feel like he can do, basically a greatest hits of 2K mocap stuff, right?
At the same time, like the C4 is a Death Valley driver. A lot of people do Death Valley drivers.
Right, yeah, but even he can, you can, if you really want to be careful about it, stay away from anything you do, right? FTR, they've got I don't know that they'd be able to mask it. They have very specific body types for one thing.
Yeah.
Why are you smiling right now?
You put Dax in a hoodie and a mask.
It's still Dax.
Pants. I'm going to be able to tell you that's Dax Harwood, man.
Same. That's what I'm saying. Like, they don't have like generic wrestler builds, and I don't know that they'd be able to alter the way like they even run. Like, you can, like, the way they run, the way they walk.
I know. I mean you watch if you watch enough FTR matches, you know how Dax Harwood moves in the ring. Even Cash Wheeler for that matter.
Yeah, no, I agree.
You know how they move.
Two other guys that I feel could pull the Sean Spears 2K mocap thing is the Kingdom.
Yeah.
Is Bennett and Taven. I feel like with those guys, they've got kind of just a good build, like a normal dude build.
Yeah.
And they could probably, generic up the way they move and the moves they do.
Yeah.
But if it's FTR in there, I'll know.
If FTR was in there last night, I feel like we would have known.
I feel like we would have known. I agree. Now, if it ends up being them, hats off to them.
I don't think it's gonna be FTR at this point. I think it's probably.
Dope says you can tell from the gun hanging out.
Assuming that what the reports have stated is that whoever's on the mask now, or who it's going to be, obvious is Wardlow. Obvious.
Yeah. If it ends up not being Wardlow, that'd be so dumb.
I know. It'd be weird. Like, Jack Perry is 5'9", 175 pounds.
Yeah.
Someone could have jumped the guardrail and worn that hoodie and those pants. You'd be like, oh, all right. That could be Jack Perry. It could be someone in row 3, seat 20,
Jack Perry is probably the most prototypical AEW guy. So that could be anybody. I agree with that totally.
And to a degree, I know Sammy Guevara is a little bit taller.
Same with
But it's
him.
not like it's not like he's got a very specific kind of way he moves, like Dax and Cash, or some other wrestlers you can mention.
Yeah,
as long as he's not out there doing a bunch of insane high flying stuff.
Let me ask this. I like this from Holly's Hauntings and Happenings here on YouTube. What a great name for a channel.
It is a great name.
It's alliterative. Says nobody thinks Sami Callihan could be the leader.
I would know if Sami Callihan's out there.
Okay, but we haven't actually we've seen one. I even think the one time we saw the devil from the trunk up, from like the waist up in the very first thing, we would have known if it was Sami Callihan.
Yeah, we would know right away if that was Sami Callihan. Yeah.
if he's in the ring, maybe anybody, we would know Sami Callihan.
I know.
He's like the Tasmanian devil. That's what he's
like 5'8". He's not a tall guy.
He's not a tall guy, but he's so stout.
He is.
And
that's the way he moves his arms is so sudden.
Well, I don't think he would do this. Thumbs up, thumbs down.
By the devil, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Oh, that's a good one. Hey, I would love to see Sami Callihan in AEW.
Oh, I would too.
Or WWE. I don't give a shit where he is. I'd love to see Sami Callihan because unfortunately I don't have time to watch Impact anymore. Wherever he shows up, I hope it's on camera. I freaking love Sami Callihan.
Yeah, Sammy's pretty great.
You know how much I love doing the Sami Callihan impression too, man. Oh, it's my favorite.
It always hurts my shoulders when I do that because it's so sudden.
And it's so jerky, It's so violent the way he just does a thumbs up and thumbs down.
I know. It really is. It really is.
I can't say this on. Look at Tonto.
Oh my goodness.
You can't say those.
It's not. Sami Callihan's not one of the masked assailants. No, it's Wardlow. It's Jungle Boy. The other two spots, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows for sure?
Yeah. Who else? Let me, God, what a great game to play. Like, if it's Keith Lee, we would clearly know that it was
obviously.
Keith Lee,
It's Wardlow, it's Jack Perry, and like 2 Jack Perry clones. That's what it seems like. Because you have this huge muscular guy in Wardlow, and then 3 dudes who are all roughly the same size.
They're all WWE vacants. They're all vacant wrestlers.
So,
man,
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it'll be interesting next week if this match actually happens with Joe and MJF in a tag team match against 2 masked assailants. The Devil's not going to be out there.
Right, yeah. Fudgy says, hey, okay, this is a good question. If it was Matt and Nick Jackson out there in the hoods, would you be able to tell?
Matt has a very specific way he walks because his back is messed up.
That's true. He does, yeah.
Like his posture is very specific, and I feel like I could tell Matt Jackson.
Yeah, but maybe not Nick, huh?
Not Nick, no, but Matt. Okay. I could.
It'd be great. That's in the fucking thing.
I know. They come out to the ring to attack MJF. They get run off by Smojo. You just see 2 guys do this out there in the crowd.
Oh man.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, who knows? We'll see. Remains to be seen. I thought Dynamite, apart from Ric Flair talking, otherwise was pretty enjoyable.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. The tournament helps, right?
Yeah, the tournament matches last night were all great. Mox and Lethal had a great match.
Oh my God, Roosh versus Mark
Roosh
Briscoe
and Mark Briscoe were just beating the hell out of each other.
That first chop that Roosh doled out to Mark and the entire crowd went, oh my God.
that one he gave him when he was on the top rope. Sounded like a firecracker went off in the building.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah.
Oh, that was a great match. They were just beating the hell out of each other. And the main event was really good. Some good tactical wrestling involved in that last match. And I was expecting Jay White and Swerve to go to the time limit. Swerve got the clean win.
Yeah, very sneaky win there. He countered a Blade Runner with a roll up. That was awesome.
Tactical wrestling. Like Danielson was on commentary for all the tournament matches and was great at pointing out, whether there was a clash of styles with the wrestlers or in the case of Roosh and Mark Briscoe, styles that complement each other.
Yeah.
And Danielson was clear to point out, like, Jay White is one of the best defensive wrestlers in the world, which if you followed his work in New Japan, it's like him and Tama Tonga are like the 2 best defensive wrestlers.
Yeah.
And to see Jay White ultimately lose to a defensive wrestling maneuver, I thought was pretty great. And it's a huge win for Swerve. Massive win for Swerve.
Yeah, no, it was a great win for him. I like that Jay White had Pikachu face afterwards. He was like, what just happened here?
Yeah.
I'm sort of curious because so Swerve has 6 points now.
Swerve and Mox have 6 points in the Gold League. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, if like in the early returns here, and given what happened with the Hangman Page thing, it wouldn't shock me to see Swerve go to the finals here in the Gold. Who else in the goods? Mox is in Gold League.
It's Mox, Jay White, Swerve, Roosh, Mark Briscoe, and there's one more. Claudio? Is Claudio in Gold League?
No. Who did Mox fight?
Jay Lethal. Sorry, Jay Lethal.
Yeah.
Sorry, apologies, Jay Lethal. That was a great match.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I Swerve, given that Swerve just beat Jay White in the way he did, he's got the 6 points. This might be Swerve's, I'm going to say year, but there's still like a month left, and I think the finals are at Revolution, right?
No, the finals are at World's End, end of December.
Sorry, World's End. Oh, end of December. Okay. That would cap off a killer year for Swerve, setting him up for he's winning that world title next year. That shit's happening.
Yeah, you guys.
He's winning that world title. I don't know what's going to happen with all this devil business.
I don't know either, but you hear the crowd getting behind Swerve, especially after that Texas death match. The crowd was loud for him.
And that's what happens. You make these moments that sort of, number one, subvert expectations. Everybody thinks, oh, Swerve won the first one. He went to the house. He did the thing with the kid. He's going to lose this one. Nope. He won in pretty violent fashion, too.
Really violent fashion.
That's a moment. That's a moment right there. And it looks like they're actually going to capitalize on that particular moment.
I still wouldn't be surprised because there's, if I remember correctly, they said last night, the 2 top point scorers in each league will face off to determine who advances to the final.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if it comes down to Mox and Swerve in the Gold League, Hangman ends up costing Swerve that match, somewhat ironically to Mox, someone else he has beef with.
Well, yeah, but I mean, they're not allowed to do that, though. I
they
find
say
it
that, but if there's a
difficult
rough
to
bump, man, in
believe.
the finals, I would not be surprised if something happens in one of these matches.
So look, man, anything can happen, and I agree with you. But the counter to that is Tony Khan has gone so hardcore on these have to be clean. You know, they have to be. Nobody's allowed at ringside. Like if Hangman shows up, Tony Khan, like in character, whatever, he's got to make that right. That's whack if that happens.
There's another avenue that would involve an actual interference spot during the match. Is if Hangman, before Swerve's match against Mox, attacks him backstage.
Mm-hmm,
You'd almost use that as an opportunity for like a bit of a double turn if you want to.
Oh, yeah.
Or Hangman lays out Swerve and Swerve's like, no, I'm still going to have this match.
But, okay, you want to explode the crowd, then Swerve still wins that match. I guess my point is this. Along the way, I've said that if you want to get Swerve to where he's going to get, which I think is world champion.
Oh, absolutely.
Because he's put it out there, and I think that they're going to run with it. I really do. If you get him there, he's got to beat former world champions or world champion caliber guys. That means already did Hangman. Mm-hmm. That means Mox in the knockout round here, in the whatever the semifinal is. And it means a caliber guy like Bryan Danielson in the blue league, and he wins the entire thing, and he's walking around with 3 titles.
I agree, that'd be awesome. I guess my concern with him winning the tournament would be, all right, he's Triple Crown champion. Is that going to potentially derail any ideas they have about putting him in the world title scene? Well, he's got 3 belts already. You know what I mean? Like, he wins the tournament, he's the Triple Crown champ, the first one in AEW, which is a great feat. And I like that when Danielson was on commentary, they were really talking up the importance of that and the inspiration of that, going back to the All Japan Wrestling days in the 90s and such. And, of course, Excalibur was listing off former Triple Crown champions. But I don't know if whoever's going to eventually win this title is going to be in the AEW World title picture over the course of the next year. I could be wrong.
No, that's a good point, because you're winning at mid-card.
Whoever wins this first to establish this as something. And so they're going to have a pretty decent reign, and they're going to be going all over the world defending these titles, which makes me feel it's going to be someone like Mox.
That's a good point, because they're basically mid-card titles. That's a good point. Whoever wins this thing is then saddled with the mid-card titles, and that's actually a really good point. So yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how this all pans out. But yeah, if your aspiration is world champion, I don't know that you're running around with the New Japan Strong title. That's a good point. Oh man. Anyways, before we continue on with the details of AEW Dynamite, what is this? 99 likes, and we've got 550 people watching right now.
That math doesn't math.
That math definitely doesn't math. I don't know what the deal with that is. Might be a glitch in the system. If it's not, and it's just a bunch of people who are not hitting the like button, then, oh man, you got Steve here in the wood, ladies and gentlemen.
Steve's not happy.
No, I'm not happy. So hit that like button if you like what you see here. Do us a favor also. Larson, we are under 200 subs here on YouTube, away from, well, I think we're like 170.
We're 270 to be exact. No, 170.
170 away
exact.
From reaching our goal by the end of the year, 198,891. If we get that goal, we are going to do a 12-hour live stream where we will definitely not be watching the longest match of all time, nor will we watch the longest wrestling event of all time.
I think we should. I think that's a great idea.
I think it's a terrible idea because it seems very boring, and there's all sorts of copyright issues involved with that.
I think there's ways around that.
So, but regardless, we will be sitting here for 12 hours. I say we do a call-in show. That's what we do. We give out advice on relationships. They're like, hey, Stephen Larson, I'm in my early 20s. I'm dating in the year 2023. Can you give me some advice?
What do we know about dating in the year 2023? Nothing. We are not qualified to give any dating advice. Currently, we're just not.
Dope says he wants to call in. Maybe he needs some dating advice in the year 2020.
Well, I'm always happy to talk to Mr. Dope.
He's been married for like ages, like several decades now. So I don't think he's going to need that advice.
No, but it's always a delight to talk.
He has tons of questions.
Okay.
What do you think? What question? Dope. Give us one example of a question that you have.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're going to do something for 12 hours. If we hit that goal.
Probably got to do several things for 12 hours.
Yeah. We're going to
watch the longest wrestling show, which is 10 and a half hours.
We're going to do probably some GTA, maybe some 2K stuff. I don't know what we're going to do.
Well, we'll hit our goal, and then we'll talk about that when we get there.
Right, exactly. So we're trying to hit that goal. Also, we've got a Patreon, patreon.com/Steven Larson, and YouTube channel memberships. Either go to the Patreon or click on the YouTube channel memberships as you do join here on the YouTube, and you get access to bonus shows, question threads, and the big blue predictions challenges that we do every single month. You can try to unseat Patrick Sparks, the B-Man, as our current big blue predictions champion.
Correct.
Patreon.com/Steve and Larson, or click join on YouTube.
Exactly.
Oh my God! Heather says her 26th wedding anniversary was on Tuesday. Oh my gosh!
Wow,
that's a long time.
That is a long time. Twice as long as I've been married. Been married for 13 years. Wow. Anyways, jumped into it. Show kicked off with John Moxley taking on Jay Lethal. Bryan Danielson joins commentary. This match was tons of fun.
This was cool. I always appreciate when Mox tells those simple pro wrestling stories. Ow, my knee hurts. So now the entire match is going to be my knee hurts.
But then you got Jay Lethal, who's a fantastic professional wrestler, knowing how to do his part and telling that story in an effective way that puts some measure of doubt in your head about whether Mox is going to win.
Well, he does. Also, there's the thing where he's like baiting in Jay Lethal. He's like, oh, my knee hurts so bad. Jay Lethal bites, and then wham, paradigm shift.
Yeah.
It was just a really fun, simple wrestling match between two guys who've been wrestling since the 1950s or something. And wildly fun stuff. And Mox ends up picking up the win here, the finish. So Lethal rolls up Mox. Mox kicks out of that, goes right into a sleeper on Lethal. Lethal rolls back to counter. Mox kicks out of that. Lethal puts on the figure 4. Mox gets to the ropes. Lethal looks for a lethal injection, but Mox collapses. And then as Jay Lethal's like, oh, how do I handle this? Whoop-ah, springs up, hits paradigm shift, big lariat, pile driver. Lethal kicks out of all that. Mox puts on a rear choke. Lethal tries to punch out of that. Mox uses the leg to capture Lethal's arm. Jay ends up tapping out.
Yeah, that was good because Lethal was trying to punch the knee that Mox had hurt earlier on a suicide dive. And Mox was like, nope, capture that arm with the leg. Lethal has to tap. It was a really good match.
Yeah.
After that, we got an Eddie Kingston promo. Steve, do you want to do this? I know you love Eddie. Who doesn't love Eddie?
So let's set up the scene here. He looks like
singlet down.
So the belly's kind of half out.
Yeah.
And he's forlorn. His
posture against the wall. Backstage.
He's sort of slouched. He's looking off in the distance every once in a while. I feel like the only thing that really would have encapsulated what this promo needed to be is if he was fully nude on the toilet. Like, he had a big post-match dump of full soil on the way.
No, this is what it is. It's that, but then he's holding the empty tray of Reese's Pie because someone else ate it. Not only did he lose his match, because he went on last on Collision, the main event, that means someone else swooped in and took the last piece of the precious Reese's Pie. Not only did he lose the match, he didn't get his usual post-match treat at the end.
And then, look at how we work together. Look at this collaboration. But he's using the empty pie tray as his ashtray because he's smoking a cigarette.
Is what, Newport? Is that what?
Newport, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's got some mayo on his mouth right here from a chicken sandwich. He says, he's like, what do you want me to say? I knew this. I don't know why I'm doing Stone Cold right now.
It was like a Stone Cold Malachi amalgam there at first.
He says, I knew this was going to be tough. TK didn't put any scrubs in this tournament. Maybe I came in too arrogant, too cocky. Maybe since I put the belts in the pot I was given, I deserved to win. No one deserves anything. Everything's earned. Now I got Bryan next. I'm behind the 8 ball. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to go back. Humble in victory, humble in defeat. I got to go heal up. I'll be ready for Brian.
And then they cut to commentary. Danielson's there. Is like, I'm not going to be humble.
No.
I came in here with. He's like,
arrogant
Eddie,
in defeat, arrogant in victory. Yeah.
He said, Eddie loses one match, and look at him. He already says he's behind the 8 ball in this kind of tournament.
Yeah,
Not me. I came here to win this.
Yeah, dude.
I'm not going to be humble. It was great. Yeah. This next part. Okay, so Tony Schiavone. We don't have to go through all this. So Tony Schiavone announced the place and date of Revolution 2024. It makes sense. It's March 3rd, Greensboro Coliseum, Greensboro, North Carolina. In March of 1988, Sting had his match against Ric Flair for the world title, the 45-minute time limit draw. That really put Sting on the map as a main event wrestler. It makes all the sense.
Yeah.
But then, Sting talks about the importance of this, which I get. He talks about how it was like one of the first times for a sporting event that the program went 45 minutes commercial free.
Mm-hmm,
but at the end, he was like, hey, Rick, thank you for putting me on the map.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and then Flair goes on.
Oh, my goodness.
And he was like, no, I didn't put you on the map. You made yourself Sting. And then he just talks a bunch, and it's like, hey, we're going back to Greensboro, Sting and the Nature Boy. Woo.
Yeah, dude. I look, I understand the historical significance. But dude, I don't need bloaty ass Ric Flair on my screen. Even Sting's not as fun when he's next to Flair,
I know.
Like, he sounded so mellow and, like, I don't know, tired in this interview. And then Flair just goes on, and I'm like, I don't need this. I hear there's like a cringy ass promo on Rampage as well.
I heard that too.
I don't need any of that. And I'll be honest with you, what should have been, or what should be, like a very celebratory retirement tour. Whenever Flair shows up, it just brings it down. Like, I have really no interest in seeing that.
I know, and it's a bummer. It's a bummer for Sting.
Mm-hmm.
Something that's supposed to be, his farewell.
Well, I think he's fine with it, though. I mean, that's the converse, is that I think Sting wants this. I really do, because he's obviously got. This is probably very emotional for him, and so to have Ric Flair there, he's probably all in on that. It's just for the rest of us that don't really give a shit that it's about.
No, I know. That was kind of the point I was trying to make. Mm-hmm. It's a bummer. After that, we had a really awesome match between Mark Briscoe and Roosh. Man, if you like chops, this was a match for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
This was
the hell
awesome.
Out of each other.
God, the Roosh matches are just
so good,
physical.
And it appears that Roosh may have actually hurt his leg at some point. Maybe he pulled a hamstring or something.
Mm-hmm.
When there's a bit where Mark Briscoe drops him with the clothesline.
Yeah, right.
He's really selling leg after that. And he was talking to the ref a lot, which makes me feel like maybe he actually did hurt himself. Not enough to stop the match, obviously. Mark, a couple times looking for a J Driller, can't ever get it off. At one point, Mark does hit a froggy bow. Roosh kicks out. Mark's looking for another J Driller. Roosh counters with a backdrop. And then Mark runs right into an overhead belly into the corner. Roosh follows with a stiff elbow.
Mm-hmm.
And then a really snug bull's horn to get the win.
Yeah, there was like that chop off where they were just lighting each other up. Both these dudes know how to chop, but Roosh is something special, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome. After that, we had a Toni Storm interview. She was lying on the couch, basically on RJ City. Mariah May was behind her, and of course the concierge himself, Luther. And RJ City talks about her championship celebration, asks how she's feeling. She's like, we partied well into the evening, spent a bit of time at the compound. JFK was one of the Kennedys. But as of now, I'm feeling very fatigued and very dehydrated, and I have a touch of the gout. And RJ tells her, well, you got a title defense next week. Are you worried? Worried? Was Fatty Arbuckle worried? Was Gene Harlow worried? Francis Bleeding Farmer worried? No, they turned out fine, and so will I. Before you go, will you take off my shoes? My feet are getting a bit swollen. And then they come back in commentary. Taz says, oh, you got to watch out for that gout.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny.
It was good stuff. They made an MJF promo. I don't know if we have to go through all this, but it was MJF doing an awesome job. Spent about 5 minutes putting over how important and how great Samoa Joe is.
Yeah.
He tells a story of essentially discovering TNA and turning it on to seeing, all these wrestlers he had never seen before and seeing them wrestle in a way that essentially he's never seen before. And one person who stood out the most was Samoa Joe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He said Samoa Joe may have looked a bit unconventional, but he didn't care. and neither did any of us, because every time he walked through that curtain, we knew he was the baddest man walking on God's green earth. Now, unfortunately, later on in his career, his talents weren't fully recognized, and he wasn't for the opportunity to be a world champion in that other company. But what Joe did for this sport was bigger than that. Samoa Joe proved that you don't have to be a massive male model bodybuilder to be a top guy in the sport. Samoa Joe broke the mold. Samoa Joe proved alternatives matter because of the road Joe paved has allowed a man like me to stand before you today. Without a guy like Joe, there may not be an AEW. So he kind of reluctantly, but, with a great deal of respect and admiration says, "Thank you, Joe." So the crowd breaks out. "Thank you, Joe" chant. And then MJF says, "Well, I'm not too shabby myself." And he says, "I've been here since the beginning of AEW. I've helped build this place brick by brick. And I've done it by beating some of the top names in this industry: Cody, Punk, Danielson, Jericho, Mox, Kenny. Of all the names that I've had to face inside the squared circle, one name, when I look back, I think not only am I lucky to have been victorious, I'm lucky to survive, and that would be you, Joe." And he says, "But December 30th isn't about Samoa Joe. It's about me. Can I outlast the final boss of this sport one more time?" He says, "I'm going to promise everybody watching at home, everybody watching in this arena, Joe, on December 30th, I don't care if my left knee keeps sliding in and out. I don't care if my right hip keeps popping in and out of socket. I don't care if my left shoulder is hanging on by a thread. I don't care if you beat me within an inch of my life. I don't care if you're King Kong and Godzilla incarnate, because I promise on December 30th, I'm going to show the world that it's not about the size of the dog in the fight. It's about the size of the fight and the dog. If you want to take what's mine at World's End, you're going to have to put me down."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he walked out with a cane, because he apparently does have an injured hip. Mm-hmm. Snaps that over his leg. Lights come down, and about a spotlight strobe, then some masked assailants hit the ring to attack him. They all have the devil mask on the back of their hoodies.
They had special attack shirts made.
They did. So Joe, somewhat conveniently, you could say, comes to the ring to make the save, chases off Wardlow, who had the baseball bat. And the lights go down. The devil flashes on the Tron for a moment, and then some title cards show up that says, "In the shadows, our games begin. Next week, MJF and Samoa Joe, will you face the unknown in a tag match?"
These dudes going to be running ropes, man.
I know. "Are you a hero, Max?" So Joe's like, "Nope, I want you at 100% or close to it. Rolls in. Don't do it."
Yeah.
And MJF pushes past him and says, "I'm so sick of your Scooby-Doo bullshit. I'm not dealing with your crap when I got this guy, Joe, breathing down my neck at World's End. No, but take out all of your men one by one. I'm going to unmask you, you coward. Next week, you want a tag match, you're on." And Joe's like mad. He gets right to MJF's face. MJF, "Relax, man," and leaves.
I really, really liked the interplay between Joe and MJF, because Joe is like, "Yeah, I get it, and I totally would be doing the same thing, but let me try to bring him down so that I can get what I want." And that's, him at 100% with no excuses. I like that a lot. And MJF not giving a shit about what Joe says, knowing that Joe understands where he's coming from. So I really like that interplay between those two. My only concern is that, like, it's a fine line, isn't it, between corny and compelling sometimes with this pro wrestling stuff.
Absolutely.
When you've got, oh, wow, the devil stuff is all well lit, but then the cronies come out, one who clearly is Wardlow, with like the devil picture on their back. And then like even the little presentation details, the cheesy like typewriter typing out on the thing with the message.
The choice of font, no less,
The choice of font. If it was like more looked like, I don't know, the opening titles to the movie Seven, where, things look more like a ransom note than anything.
Yeah.
Maybe that would have been a little bit on the cooler side, but it's pro wrestling, and a lot of people just don't give a shit about those details. But it's like you start to venture into the Scooby-Doo territory with that, and it makes it a little less threatening when they have screen printed devil faces on their backs.
Oh, yeah. Maybe it's not even screen printed. Maybe it's the direct to garment, Steve. Maybe it's an iron-on.
Oh, not the iron-on, not the Walmart or the Michaels iron-on.
No, not the one you print off on your own computer.
Oh, no. Jose Alaguna here, the super chat on YouTube, says, "Could the devil be Big Show given the devil hasn't moved?" That would be amazing. Could you imagine Devil Show? He comes out and he's got Big Show body. Oh, that would be hilarious.
We got some Sid softball bat renewed the membership for 9 months. As I was there and it made it on TV. Spoiler alert for Rampage: Prince Nana doesn't need his crutches anymore.
Oh, okay. All right. Mr. Dope had a really good super chat here as well, and we'll get to that in a second. But he did say, "Why the hell did they show the Dante Martin injury twice? Oof. We did not need to see that." I agree. I'm not huge on that because all it really, like, number one, it's gruesome. Nobody needs to see bones going that way.
I forgot how gruesome it was.
Number two, now it just makes me nervous again for whenever Dante Martin is in the ring. You know what I mean? It's like, oh man, one wrong move and that's going to just, because in my mind, it's still broken. They just put a thing around it.
Oh, they taped it up a lot, huh?
It's like a pair of glasses that broke and he got the Scotch tape.
Like, yeah, your foot's going at the completely wrong angle here from this injury. How about we just tape this up?
Yeah, and I know that's not the case. I know it's probably completely healed because that's what the human body does. But that being said...
he had to have surgery on that.
Oh, no, I know.
He's got plates and screws in there.
Right. So it's all good to go. But yeah, I don't need to see that stuff. I don't need to see it, man.
No, it's not necessary. After the
I didn't mean to say it just heals on its own. I know he gets shit done on it. I know.
We had Wardlow and AR Fox. This wasn't quite the same level of squash match that we've seen from Wardlow of late. AR Fox is a wildly entertaining wrestler.
Oh yeah.
And maybe they had AR Fox with the fast start to kind of distract you a moment from Wardlow's obvious head.
Oh, man,
he had just
so
had
funny.
Something on top of his head.
It was like,
yeah, it was all kind of just a mess and down in his face.
Yeah,
really fun. AR Fox just doing awesome AR Fox stuff. In the end, though, Fox hits a series of pump kicks. Wardlow responds with the spine busters, hits the huge lariat, 2 power bombs, a swanton, then a last ride. The rest, like, that's it. Match off.
Last ride is such a devastating power.
It really is. That extra little, foot and a half, 2 feet. You have to drop there.
Looks great, but man, it looks devastating.
Poor it looks AR like Fox. It's an instant concussion every time.
Yep. I wonder where AR Fox would have been if there wasn't that whole thing about the travel situation.
Yeah, I know.
If he'd still be with Swerve right now.
I know a little bit we got with him and Swerve was awesome.
I know. It was so cool, and it was doing wonders for AR Fox.
It was really cool. Then we had the Hardy Boys and Brother Zay taking on Top Flight and Action Andretti. It is great to see Dante back in the ring because he's awesome.
It is. He's great.
Moving like the injury never happened.
Mm-hmm.
The Hardys and Brother Zay here almost at moments working a little heelish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which was interesting. A fun match in the end, though. Of course, Dante gets the win. Dante and Darius are from the Minneapolis area, I believe, which is where Dynamite was last night. And they got a great reception. It was awesome to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
So the finish saw the Hardys look to take out Action Andretti and Darius on the floor. It backfires. And Action drop kicks Zay into a German suplex from Darius, and Dante hits. I don't remember if this is like a new finisher or what. It must be because he used to do the nosedive, the double springboard moonsault.
Yeah.
So this must be a new thing. Hits it to get the win.
Yeah. Yeah, good stuff. Right afterwards, they were interviewed after we get back from commercial. But the interview is immediately interrupted by Pentagon and Alex Abrahantes. And then Pentagon calls in Commander and Vikingo and says, Cero Miedo. That should be fun. That should be really
fun. We get a pretty crazy trios match here coming up.
That's going to be nuts. Yeah, that's going to be really cool. After that, this is a really cool match. Emi Sakura versus Julia Hart. Boy, oh boy, Julia Hart is over with the crowd.
Well, she's from the Minneapolis area, too.
Oh, yeah, that's okay. There you go.
She is over. She's been getting great receptions from the crowd, everywhere. But
this crowd was super into this match, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Good to see Emi Sakura getting regular cable TV time, too.
I know.
That's something we used to crow about. So it's a house rules match, and Emi's rule was no submissions, which problem for Julia Hart.
Well, you couldn't win by submission. I meant to put it in there.
I'm sorry, you can't win by submission. Moves, only pin, DQ, or whatever.
Yeah.
And, of course, that's an issue for Julia Hart because of the heartless submission. And, in fact, towards the end, she did lock it on. And, Emi was like, tap him. But it didn't matter because you can't win the match that way. So then she hits a sliding clothesline, follows with a stomp and a moonsault to get the win. So I had to get around that submission there.
Yeah. It's a good thing Julia Hart has another finisher.
Right, exactly, yeah.
But man, Emmy, when she does that running crossbody against things in this match against the ring steps,
it's like Ivar. Yeah, it's great.
Oh, it's great. I can watch that all day. It's so cool. It's so awesome. Good match. Check it out. After that, we had a Mariah May interview. So RJ City asked, you're here. Are you hungry for more? And Mariah says, I did just come from Stardom where I had one hell of a run. I'm dying to show AEW what I can do. So thanks for connecting me with Tony. She means Tony Khan.
Mm-hmm.
So RJ says, me and Tony Khan go way back. And Mariah says, no, really. You're quite the curator of people, and I know Tony loves you, so this means the world to me. So RJ says, Tony is the one who makes things happen around here. I'm just happy to help. So Mariah steps up Tony Khan's office door, knocks on it, and walks in.
I like Tony Schiavone cracked up the crowd, or cracked up commentary too, because he said, "I hope she didn't interrupt a meeting."
Yeah,
and they all started hella laughing.
Yeah.
So after that, we had a lengthy Christian Cage and Adam Copeland segment, where Adam Copeland was able to sneak in the word "fuck." It was kind of great.
Did you watch the East Coast feed or the West Coast feed?
I would have had the West Coast feed. Yeah.
Did they censor it on that?
I honestly don't remember. I saw that part on social media, and so I sort of tuned out a little bit.
All right, because they didn't censor it on the East Coast feed, because that's what I watch.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, I watch it later so I can fast forward through all the commercials and stuff.
Yeah, I try to when I can, but sometimes if I have time, I'll watch the end, and then because what they'll do is they'll post a lot of promos and interviews on their YouTube. AEW will.
Yeah.
So I can transcribe those while I wait for the actual show to start.
Oh, there you go. Hey, smart man. Working smarter, not harder. I like it.
So anyways, this is actually a pretty decent segment. So Christian comes to the ring, full security detail. And he's like, Adam Copeland, come on down. And, Adam Copeland, perhaps wisely, is hesitant to make his way to the ring. Eventually he does, though. So Christian stands in the corner. He's got his security detail forming a wall around him. It's like Stan Van Gundy would suggest. And Christian says, management wanted me to have the security. It wasn't my idea. But we don't need security tonight. So, gentlemen, if you wouldn't mind vacating the ring, please. And he turns his attention to Copeland. Says, last week he challenged me to a match for the TNT title in Montreal and Dynamite. I'm here to tell you that we're not going to make it to Montreal. And he gets right in Edge's face. He says, we're not going to make it to Montreal because I'm sorry. Now, look, I know what you're thinking. That I'm only sorry because I'm on an island by myself. Last week you took out Kill Switch. You took out Nick Wayne. But that's not the reason I'm sorry. I was pretty pissed off when you hit Luchasaurus. Kill Switch. And the crowd gave him crap for it. It's pretty good.
Do you think? Let me ask him. That was intentional, right?
Oh, I don't know.
Because I feel like at some point they're gonna go back. He's gonna have his big moment and say, "I'm Luchasaurus, not Kill Switch," right? Like, so I kind of feel like
it could be.
Even Christian isn't really respecting, the name change as much.
The rechristening as
keep on going. my dog keeps on scratching.
Sure. So he says, I was pretty pissed when you hit Kill Switch with not one but two concertos. I was so mad that I just started driving. I just need to think. It's somewhere during that trip. It turned into a road trip of soul searching, trying to figure out why I became the person I am, who does such unsavory things. As I drove, I was reminded of us driving in your mom's Taurus. We were having the times of our lives on the road because we were going to make it. And damn it, did we make it? You want to become, in Christian's estimation, the greatest tag team that ever lived. You both became multi-time world champions, but take the wrestling part out of it, and it runs way deeper. Everyone knows that you grew up with a single father, Adam, and that you didn't have a father figure. The whole crowd gasps. He says, I'm not your father. I'm your brother. You might not have had a father, but in turn, my father became your father. We brought you in like you were one of his own. To this day, my father is still your biggest fan. We weren't just two guys who were thrown together. I love you, man. We're family, and listen to me. When your mom passed away, that was the hardest time of your life, but sometime before she passed, she said to us, what I wouldn't give to see you guys team just one more time. So let's do it. Let's do it for her. Let's do it again as a tag team for Judy. Let's do this for your mom.
He said, for the Judemeister. Let's do this for your mom.
So he puts down the mic and stands there, and he holds the TNT title like he's going to hit Copeland with it, and he rears back to do it. Instead, Copeland kicks him in the balls, and Edge picks up the mic and says, nice try, dumbass. And he gets Christian up and says, sit up when I'm talking to you. Shine this up real nice next week because she's coming home with me. Oh, and by the way, I almost forgot.
Go fuck yourself.
Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, that was good. I like when he said Judemeister.
Yeah, Christian's the best.
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty great. Main event, pretty great too. Jay White taking on Swerve Strickland in a Continental Classic tournament match. Go out of your way to see this. Commentary did a good job of constantly reminding us, because I think they actually were running late because Justin Roberts kind of bypassed the introductions for the match. He's like, here's main event.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like, we're going to keep with this match as long as it's going. And it did have a little bit of an overrun, but I was going in this. I was like, this matchup, I wouldn't be surprised is a time limit draw. It's what I was expecting. And so and they even gave us the 5-minute warning. There's 5 minutes left.
That's a good point.
Shortly after that, Swerve picks up the win. So this is a great match in terms of technical defensive counter wrestling. So Swerve elbows out of a sleeper suplex. Jay, though, looks for a Fujiwara armbar because Swerve has his one shoulder all taped up from the death match. Swerve rolls through, does the snap on Jay's arm. It's always great.
Yeah.
Looks for a JML driver. Jay escapes that, but almost runs into the ref. So like the Roosh match, Jay's looking for the low blow. Swerve washed his tape on that because he catches it. Hits Jay with a huge backbreaker, falls with a house call, and then a Swerve stomp. Jay kicks out. So Jay hits a Blade Runner, but Swerve rolls to the floor. Jay puts him back in. Swerve gets up. Jay's looking for a sleeper suplex. Instead, Swerve escapes. They trade some roll-ups. Jay eventually, though, does hit the sleeper suplex, looking for the Blade Runner. Instead, Swerve reverses that into a roll-up to get the W with 2.5 minutes left in the match.
Shock Jay Whiteface.
It really was.
Yeah.
Really was shock Jay Whiteface.
Really good stuff.
Fantastic bout.
Man, if they're able to get their young core on a roll, creatively speaking, they could have some really special stuff. How would you change? Let me ask you this. I was thinking about this. And we've talked about how AEW, and again, it's sort of a nebulous thing. How does it change its identity, or at least from a presentation standpoint? What would you do to make it stand out as not necessarily, if you don't like what's going on in WWE, there's us, but as, hey, this is what we have to offer, in the same way that WWE did back in 1997 when they completely, dude, if you look at 96 versus 97, it is a sea change.
It really is.
From the intro to Monday Night Raw to how everything was like basically black with red here and there.
Yeah.
If you're AEW, because their presentation it's relatively generic. You know what I mean? It's polished and it's fit for TV.
It is.
What would you do with it?
I would stylistically, intentionally, and that's not to say make the presentation look more amateurish, because that's not what I'm saying. Grunge it up a bit.
Yeah.
Make it look different for WWE's broadcast, because right now it looks kind of similar. It's not shot the same way.
Yeah.
But it's all brightly lit, and you got the huge Tron, and you got the pyro and stuff. I'm not saying get rid of that, but just make it look just a little grungier. A little more rough around the edges.
That is one thing that I've noticed. We talked about this the other day about how polished and corporate WWE stuff, and that's what they want, because that's, hey, we're the biggest act. We're going to have the most elaborate. And people talk about how, man, WWE, they really do make people look like stars when they go over there.
Yeah.
That being said, there are plenty of people in our comments, both in the live stream and our YouTube comments, that said, that's one reason I'm not huge into WWE, because they come off as soap, all the 3D graphics and the renders and all that kind of stuff.
Everything on WWE, and in terms of even how they present basically everything, can come off as a bit sanitized. No, I get that.
Yeah.
And if AEW really wants to stand out as an alternative and not, as some people said, WWE light at this juncture, go the opposite direction. I'm not saying shoot on VHSC by any stretch of the imagination, but grunge it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Make it look like what they, from the get-go, were trying to do is like, we're the underdog organization. And if you want to be presented as an alternative, present yourself as an alternative, and that means photograph your show differently. WWE is, in their own way, for what they do, perfected the language of pro wrestling storytelling. That's not to say that's not the only language that can be used.
I feel like the structure of your weekly television and your builds to pay-per-views, et cetera, that almost needs to follow a certain language. because it
I'm
works.
talking more about, where WWE's got the in-ring promo, backstage interview. Why has no one tried the TNA fly on the wall stuff since then?
I don't know, but that stuff was amazing, and I agree. So what I was just clarifying what we're talking about is presentation.
Yeah,
but I do think that storytelling week to week, leading to monthly pay-per-views, is a language that really is kind of universal in wrestling. I would say keep that, but what you're saying about the presentation, absolutely, I agree.
Another thing that WWE did during the Attitude Era was focus on their young stars, developing, getting them involved in interesting stories.
Yeah.
If you do those three things and really separate yourself from what WWE does very well, and find a way to do something different, that still isn't too far removed from what people are used to, I guess, to a degree, for pro wrestling, and do it really well. I think that's what they got to do.
And I feel like, just from a present, because obviously, pushing the women's division, which you can draw with the women's division. It's nuts that he would think that they can't.
Know. It's crazy.
But, do that. The representation issues, I think, are still a major thing.
Yeah.
But, when you have guys like the Acclaimed on your roster that you're like not doing anything really with, that's a major issue. But that stuff aside, because that's in the DNA. That's like Tony Khan. It's like, dude, you gotta do that stuff, or else it's gonna end up being bad for you. So that's why I was just the presentation aspect of it. If you attitude era up the presentation aspect of things, it's bizarre to me that they wouldn't want the TNA fly on wall stuff. Run around like it's a documentary.
I know, because it makes. Imagine there's something going on backstage, and you got Renee running, saying, come on, follow me.
I know, yeah.
And they captured something that happens to be happening, and they've done that before. WWE's done that before at times. Yeah. Remember that bit where Batista shows up and grabs the cameraman?
I was literally just thinking about that. Yeah,
and pulls the cameraman over after he beats up Ric Flair.
Yeah,
that was so well done.
It was.
How come that kind of stuff doesn't happen on a more regular basis? Because it's way more effective than someone standing back there with a microphone and doing a typical interview.
And I honestly wonder if, and this is why this is my own personal theory, and it's not the Cody thing, but when you have 2 hours of TV to fill, you have the entire week to be inspired to take on that next 2 hours and book it to perfection. When you add 3 more hours to that, then you're basically Kevin Nash with a whiteboard. Yeah. I know that they're not, I'm not saying that they tape shit out of order. I'm saying you have to now worry about, okay, well, I did my 2 hours here. Now I don't have a week to book the next 2 hours. I got to do this right now. I got to do, now we're on Thursday. I got to worry about Saturday's show and still be thinking about Dynamite. Then you're going to start, I don't know. It's not going to be nearly as inspired because you've got so much more stuff.
Yeah. Especially if he's doing it predominantly by himself.
Big issue.
That's where you have a team of creative individuals to help you map stuff out.
Yeah,
would be of great benefit.
And on top of that, you've lost QTV. You might be completely done now.
I think the QTV thing kind of runs antithetical to everything else we were talking about.
I don't know what that word means. Let's go ahead and answer some questions.
Let's do it.
Mr. Dope
DJ Hawk here says, oh, sorry, you have one. Sorry.
I got Mr. Dope's question right here. He came up with his question that we're going to, this is the test run for Colin's show. He says, hey, Mr. Dope here. First time, long time listener. My wife constantly wants to spend time with me, but I'd rather watch Pokemon. What should I do?
Is your wife interested in watching Pokemon?
I think the subtext here is no, because Pokemon is for nerds. That's a universal standard. So I would say maybe tell her, rethink the marriage because you married a big old nerd. Oh, and I think he's an Android user and a big dummy.
Oh, my goodness.
Not only does he like to watch Pokemon, he likes watching nerds on Twitch play Pokemon. He says she's more of a Digimoner. Well, she's a big old nerd, too. Is there a third property you guys can watch together?
That's the compromise, yeah.
There you go. There you go. Mr. Dope still owes me an Unsolved Mysteries watch along. We're gonna watch the guy who laughed all the way to the bank.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
It's gonna be a good one.
Credence and Mikey here with the super chat says, "Let's go, baby." Thank you so much.
Let's go, baby.
Credence
let me pull up the old YouTube questions here.
I'll get this one from DJ Hawk. Says Undertaker recently gave his top 4 small guys in history being Eddie, Benoit, Angle, and Styles, with criteria being under 6 feet. Who would be on your guys' Mount Rushmore of smaller wrestlers?
Small dude.
Is it 6 feet and under, or under 6 feet?
I would say under 6 feet. If you hit 6 feet, right, you're on the small
no Kenny
end
Omega because he's built as 6 feet.
Danielson clearly is like. Oh
yeah, whoever. you take Benoit out, you put Bryan Danielson in. Otherwise, the list is great.
So I'm sorry, it's Danielson. Who else is on there?
Danielson, Eddie, Guerrero, okay, Kurt Angle,
okay,
AJ Styles.
Okay, that's good. I would actually go Danielson, Mysterio. Angle's under 6 feet?
I guess so.
No.
He was never presented like that.
Angle's under 6 feet?
He always projected like he was 6'2".
No kidding. That's an illusion right there. Kurt Angle. How tall is this dude?
Well, it says here on Wikipedia 6 feet on the dot.
I would go, I don't think Angle's in there. I'd say I'd go Eddie, Ray, Danielson, Styles. That's probably mine.
Eddie, Ray, Danielson, Styles?
I think so, yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Yeah, off the top of my head, I can't think of anybody else. That's pretty good.
Let's see here. What else do we have? Heather says Angle's not a big dude, but I gotta believe he's 6 feet.
He was always like he always presented himself as.
You think back in 1999 or 1998 or whatever, Vince McMahon would have been like, because they gave him big money at the outset.
I know, and
there's the Olympic stuff also, but
yeah, he never seemed small compared to, because a lot of the guys at minimum, most of the guys in WWE at that time were like 6'2".
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know. That's the thing. Yeah.
Let's see. Patrick Sparks here says, what is one thing early AEW did very well compared to current AEW, and what's one thing current has done better than the early days? This is one thing early AEW I thought always did really well, and that's tell stories about personal relationships in the ring. That was the whole Hangman, Kenny, Young Buck story.
Mm-hmm.
So much of that took place in the ring area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was some backstage stuff, but I can't really think of, apart from the contract signing between Kenny and Hangman, like a protracted talkie bit.
You know what?
It was all storytelling in terms of how people relate to each other around or inside the wrestling ring, and that's one thing I thought AEW did really well in the early days. They don't do as much anymore.
This is sort of a piggyback on what you're saying. Pandemic happened within 5 months of AEW starting, and having the wrestlers be the audience and having them interact with Sean Spears and MJF taking bets.
That was great.
Having that be your universe where everybody interacts with everybody. And I feel like that's something they've gotten away from. I just heard a noise. I don't know what it was. What was that noise?
On my end?
No, it was my end, I think.
Oh,
I think I know what that was. Sorry, everybody. So that is a big thing. What do they do now better than then? I do think I kind of feel like they're starting to get to, because of the monthly pay-per-view thing, which it seems like they're going monthly. I think that's just a better way to tell stories, to be honest with you.
I feel like in terms of how they photograph matches, they're getting to the point where they find the moments to really hammer home the story beats better than they used to. They used to miss stuff.
Oh, that's a really good point. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
All the time. And maybe it still happens. I'm just used to that in AEW, but I haven't noticed that as much recently. Like when there's an important moment in the match that for us at home we need to see photographically, they catch that more often than they miss it now, as opposed to it was like a flip of the coin back in the day whether they get those moments or not.
I will guarantee you the reason why Kevin Dunn is still at WWE is because there's no other director that knows. And by the way, that he has dialed back. Have you noticed the crash zooms and the cut? That is nowhere near the way it was back when. So I know that was a director from Triple H. Hey, chill with the cuts.
Yeah.
But in terms of capturing moments, I get the feeling that Kevin Dunn's experience is such that there's nobody else in the business who'd be able to understand where to go when big moments happen. That has got to be something that is specifically why he is paid so much.
Probably.
Because I'd be shocked if there's anybody else in the television directing business, the live sports or whatever business, that can do it the way he does it. Because I think that shit's probably really hard to do.
It probably is tough.
Yeah.
Mr. Sinister here says, so I just read that apparently CM Punk needs to hold the U.S. title, become a Grand Slam champion, so maybe we can get a Logan Paul CM Punk feud for the U.S. title. With the odds we do get that match for the title? I hope so.
Please.
That's number one feud I want
I'd be fine with Punk with the U.S. title.
Yeah, I would be too.
Jesse Helsia says, you ever go back and watch your old videos? If so, what do you think when you see young Steve and Larson?
I don't look as old.
Oh, yeah. You
That's
see
kind of
the scars of time.
I don't really go back and watch our stuff typically.
I watch still to this day, I still go back and watch
That's
some
the
of our
exception.
intros.
I guess I do watch those from time to time.
Our 10 for the Win short film intros are like my favorite things that we ever did. Those are wildly fun. They are legitimately funny. And I still enjoy watching those. I almost never go back and watch old Going In Raw stuff, except with the exception of like our best bits. Like sometimes, I definitely go back and watch. And I have a whole fucking library of me and Enforcer doing streams over at my Twitch channel of shit that's just off the wall fucking hilarious that I really need to start just cutting and putting together in compilations. Because we would just be sitting there laughing our asses off, and I think that'd be fun to go back and revisit as well. But yeah, I like to go back and revisit here and there the stuff that sort of stands out. But otherwise, I mean, we've done so many podcasts that it's like, what am I going to go back and
like the intro stuff? I have such fond memories of that because so many of those we would go to each other's house. What are we going to do? Let's do this, and we just did it. So many of those were improvised or predominantly improvised. Very few of them are actually scripted.
Yeah, we were very lucky in that Machinima just sort of let us do. They were like, okay, just go off and do, and that's what we did. And that was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cat Dead 7 says if contracts didn't matter, but only one could be brought back to the Fed, who do you think would have more pull with Hunter to get their significant other out of AEW, Rhea or Charlotte?
Charlotte. Because Triple H, I think, would really love to have Andrade. Murphy's kind of a henchman, and I don't see him being anything else. So I feel like he'd be more motivated.
Yeah.
To get on. And I think Andrade is be super motivated to get out of there.
Yeah.
Well, this is an interesting take with a premise that I'm not sure I agree with, but let's roll with it. Samuel Raja says, with MJF injured and likely dropping the belt to Samoa Joe, who would his first feud be with? I don't think that's going to happen, but let's say it did. Who would you want to see as Samoa Joe as champion's first feud?
We haven't gotten it yet. Let's get Samoa Joe and Kenny Omega.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah. That'd be high up there for me.
Yeesh. We can end on this one unless you have a better one to end on. Patrick Cheeseman. What are the odds Ric Flair gets involved in Sting's last match as a tag team member?
No, I don't. I don't think that's going to happen. What I think is more likely, and to a degree, fitting for Sting and Ric Flair's story, is if Ric Flair turns on him and costs him his last match.
Not again. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I kind of feel like Ric Flair. I think it'd be awesome, but I feel like Ric Flair is probably going to help keep somebody away at ringside from interfering in the match, which is not realistic.
A woo, maybe a low blow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, we don't need any more Ric Flair involvement in any of this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I understand he's there. He's going to be involved whether we want him or not.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully the involvement's minimal.
You have any other burning questions over there?
Nope. I think we're good.
All right. Well, that'll do it for the show today. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Hey, if you haven't already, do us a solid. Hit that subscribe button, notify bell, and that like button. We'd really appreciate it. We're sitting right now at a grand total before we end the show with 617 people watching,
165 away,
and 239 likes. And so that's about, what is that, like about a 30% run there? Over 30%.
Just a little bit better than that. Yeah, just a little bit better than that.
I'm cool. 34 or 35%, something like that. All right, well, that's going to do it for the show today. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We greatly appreciate it. Till next time, we'll see you around.
Goodbye.